I think for some people, and not for everyone, but for some people, when they do this or move into this kind of world, it's really just because they want the people they love to be happy. You know what I mean? And even if it's, and again, your friends should I guess your friends should like realize that for you, where it's like, look, yes, I've done the research, I've done the reading, I'm sure, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the thing about it too, is it's like, it's, you know, I think if you go into it selfishly, it's not gonna last very long.
Welcome to Wild and Sublime, a sexy spin on infotainment, no matter your preferences, orientation, or relationship style. Based on the popular live Chicago show, I chat about sex and relationships with citizens from the world of sex positivity and comedy. You'll hear meaningful conversations, dialogues that go deeper, and information that can help you become more free in your sexual expression. I'm sex educator and intimacy coach, Karen Yates. Our monthly Patreon supporters pay for a large part of our operating expenses. Their contributions from $5 on up help us big time. Plus, members get discounts on show tickets and merch and receive Wild and Sublime news before anyone else and more. Interested in helping us spread the message of sex positivity? Go to patreon.com/Wild and Sublime. Hey folks, welcome to Wild and Sublime, coming to you from the Lincoln Lodge podcast studio as part of the Lincoln Lodge podcast network. Before I introduce today's guest, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement. We are recording on the lands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, in addition to a score of other tribes that lived here. This land is now known as Chicago. And on to our guest. Today, I will be chatting with comedian Adam Burke. Burke is a regular panelist for NPR's radio show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. He has performed in comedy festivals around the U.S. and opened for comedians Mark Maron, Jeff Ross, John Mulaney, John Oliver, Tracy Morgan, and Aziz Ansari, and many others. During the pandemic, he hosted the YouTube series The 5 O'Clock Somewhere News with comedian Adam Burke, where he showed viewers how to mix various cocktails while delivering the news, which is a pretty neat trick. In 2014, Burke was voted Best Stand-Up by readers of the Chicago Reader and won Second City's Up Next comedy competition. Born in Australia and raised in Northern Ireland, that would be County Armagh, Burke currently lives in Chicago. Welcome, Adam Burke.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So
I saw you a couple of weeks ago opening for Jenna Friedman, and you mentioned that you also lived in England, not just Australia and Northern Ireland?
Yeah, so my folks, because we were living there in the mid-'80s, which wasn't always the most fun time to be living there.
Yeah.
And so basically, it wasn't like a great time for work and stuff, so my dad ended up moving us to London. So like from the age of about 11 onwards, I was in London.
Okay, yeah.
And then I came to America 25 years ago.
Wow, all right.
Yeah.
I visited Northern Ireland about 12 years ago. This was pre-Game of Thrones mania that took over, but I loved it. I mean, I was quite aware of the troubles while I was there, even though nothing was going on. But, you know, at that point, what was it like growing up there?
It was weird for me growing up because I didn't really know what was going on until we left. So it wasn't until I got to London and went to school, and then kids were asking me if I was going to blow up their car.
Oh, God.
And I was like, you mean like the A-Team, like the TV show? And I was like, oh, like a cool action movie way. And then what's funny? And then I started watching like British news. You know what I mean? Which was just about all. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was just like retroactively terrified.
Right. And did you ever go back?
We went back frequently because we had a lot of family back there.
Of course.
My mother had family in the north and my dad had family in the Republic. So we would go back, I mean, pretty much every summer.
All right.
Or at least once a year we would go back and get made fun of. Like, you know, because I would go back and my friends, my cousins in the South would call me a Protestant, and then my cousins in the North would call me other names. And then so you just tried to find some peace in between all the name calling. But
Yeah. It's funny, when I was telling people that I was going to Northern Ireland and coming back, like here in America, people still get the Republic and Northern Ireland confused. Like they don't really understand there's two separate countries.
Well, who depends who you ask.
Right. Yes, exactly so.
So as a friend of mine pointed out, like I tend to refer to it now as the north of Ireland.
Right. Yes.
I don't think it's going to be two separate countries for much longer.
No, it's coming along, isn't it?
Yeah. Just because people are like,
yeah,
it's sort of more hassle than it's worth, and people are just like, screw it. Let's just be. It's simpler. I mean, it makes more sense on a map if it's just one. Right.
But there is a vibe that is much different than the Republic, wouldn't you say? Like,
yeah. The Northern Irish accent is always it sounds intrinsically defensive, which sort of makes it always sounds like I used to say the Northern Irish accent always sounds like someone refusing. Like I said, the Australian accent sounds like someone asking a question, because it's always this. It always goes up at the end. It's called the universal interrogative, they call it. But the Northern Irish accent always sounds like someone refusing to answer a question. Who, me? Oh God, I don't know. Him. Ah, sure. Hey, he was never here. It's always very defensive and evasive, and it's, as my dad used to say, the Northern Irish they're very generous, because they'll give you 20 answers for every one question asked. I think they just if there ever is a unified Ireland, it's just because people in the north just tried the patience of the British too much with their long ass answers. That's what they released a lot of the political prisoners. They just got sick of hearing them fucking talk.
Right. I remember when I was coming into, I think I was in a taxi, I couldn't understand the accent. I'm so used to, because here we hear much more the standard Irish accent, coming out of, but like the Northern accent is so much different.
Yeah, it's so much. It's a lot. It's sharper.
Yeah.
And then especially when you get to Belfast. Belfast gets very quick, and Belfast is very. Belfast and Scotland, certain parts of Scotland, they're just very quick.
Yeah.
But I mean, people in Ireland famously don't understand other people in Ireland. Like most people don't. People from Cork, nobody understands anyone from Cork. It's a tiny country with like 1,000 different accents and opinions on each of those accents.
So you came to maturity in England, and then you moved to America eventually.
Yeah.
And what sort of differences in dating did you see, like in terms of like comporting yourself?
So there was this. I think I was. I left England in a weird crossover. Like I left in '99. So like in the mid '90s in England, and a lot of English people are going to give you shit about this and say I'm making this up, but I think the notion of dating only sort of came of age in the 90s, because even so, dating, you want to go on a date, it doesn't even sound right in a British accent. You know what I mean? Oh, we want to go on a date. And it doesn't. It sounds weird. And they kind of learned it because Friends got really big. There were certain shows that started getting really big. And this notion of dating, but it's like, because it was always in England, if someone would chat you up, because in England the game plan, as far as I could tell, was just to go to a place where everyone's going to be very drunk, and then something will happen, and then you'll wake up in the next morning and you may or may not have a partner. Like that's generally seems to be how it always worked. And it was always, I want to get a drink. And then that was it, as far as I know. And then this sort of adult, kind of more adult thing came in. But the British the British and the English, I'd say, are not necessarily daters. You know what I mean? I mean, they weren't in the 90s. I think it's changed now, and I think they're all like very comfortable with Tinder and all the rest of it. But like, especially when I was growing up, this notion of like, I'll pick you up at 8, hilarious notion that would ever happen. Pick you up with what? A bus pass? Yeah. There was no, but that was, but that notion is very, very different. And then, and I was surprised, like, I generally don't, like, I think a lot of the stereotypes about the English and the Irish are kind of like, a lot of them are overblown, but certainly like, I found Americans to be incredibly more affectionate on every level.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys don't realize how affectionate you are. You're very affectionate. You're very. There's this whole thing of I was in Texas, and the fact that someone I just met would slap me on the back and shake my hand is I have uncles who've never done that to me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I gotta be careful what I said, what I say here though, because I was on a podcast about Ireland once, and I sort of was joking around about some cousins of mine, and they have never listened to anything I've ever done, but they heard this one fucking podcast. Oh, and I'm supposed to go back there in October, and I'm dreading it because I know they're going to be mad about this podcast. But Americans are very, very affectionate, and and it was sort of surprising because you got to understand so much of your culture gets promulgated, elsewhere. So we get our notion of dating, we get our notion of hookups, we get a lot of the language around it is started to change,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, I'm just sort of rolling around in my mind about the Friends as a template for American dating or American relationships, which is crazy to me that would be the template. But I mean, it was this phenomenon.
Yeah.
It was a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of Jerry Seinfeld saying that he was in, I think, Bali, in the jungles of Bali, and comes upon a village where they're like, Jerry,
right,
But I mean,
right.
Friends was that kind of juggernaut, and I'm like, oh God, what did Friends give the world? What did Friends give the world?
No, it was massive. People would watch it all the time, and it was in England. It would come on in a block. It would precede ER.
Oh my gosh.
So there were two massive TV shows that were I can't remember what night, I think they were Thursday or Friday night. And that would be a lot of people's just, no, I'm not going out on Thursday, it's Friends, then ER. But it was a big deal, and it was fun. It's always funny. I remember the first time asking someone on a date, and it just felt so foreign.
Well, were you in England or were you
when
in
I was
America?
in England,
Okay.
when people started doing is this what we're supposed to do? But normally, especially, I mean, I know I'm sort of just describing college in a way, but to me, it always seemed to be we're how did you guys get together? Oh, I can't really remember. It was
Right, right. We just woke up and our heads were on the same pillow. Yeah, I was just still thinking about I had a lot of dreams about the Friends. When
really?
I was younger. Yeah, I was one of the Friends.
Oh, in the dream?
Yeah, and so it was this sort of archetypal group of people that I would be hanging out with. And it was just always really pleasant. I was with my friends who were the Friends.
Oh, wow.
So,
who do you think you're closest to in the show?
right. Who was my buddy in the dream state? I think it was... it was Phoebe.
Oh, okay.
Phoebe.
Okay.
And I, in real life, I had a crush on Chandler.
Oh.
I thought he was fab.
Well, that's so funny that you should say that, because I remember being at a party and they went around the thing and who do we think everyone is like? And someone said that I was like Chandler.
Really?
And it definitely was not meant as a compliment. It was definitely, especially to the English temperament, Chandler is the most annoying thing. If you were to create a creature in a lab that was supposed to annoy English people,
So why?
you would come out with Chandler?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's the thing is about the English. They do not like people who are trying. They like people who are funny. They do not like people who are trying to be funny. They like people who are charming. They do not like people who are trying to be charming. There's something about the English that's very anathema to salesmanship.
Sure.
And sort of studied charm, and they don't like it.
When you were called, you were most like Chandler Bing. How did you take that?
It had the desired effect. It was supposed to make me feel embarrassed and angry, and I was embarrassed and angry. And then of course everybody said, "Could you be any more Chandler?" And then and then you also that's the thing about, Bill Bryson once said
That's a great book. You wrote that great book.
Yeah, Notes from a Small Island.
Yes.
But he said, and I think he's sort of right. He said there's no one-to-one correlation in American English to the English phrase "taking the piss." And taking the piss, it's like people's like, it's sort of like, I don't know what we say when you make fun of someone here. What we say? What do you say? Like slamming them or whatever you'd say.
Right.
But taking the piss isn't even quite that. You're sort of going at someone from an angle, and that's what they really like.
I'm really glad you're explaining this because I still to this day have not figured out that phrase.
Yeah, taking the piss or winding someone up, it's sort of like, and it is this, and I know this happens in American culture to an extent, but it is shot through all of British and English culture. The notion of if someone tries to get at you and they succeed, then you're fucked. The whole point is, again, we're not trying to make each other's day better. We're just trying to it's all these little trials by fire of like people will just kind of wind you up and annoy you. And if you can get through that without losing your shit, then that will get you a certain respect, but certainly not trying to be nice to them.
So if you're fucking with me, I would say something like, Adam, are you taking the piss?
Are you taking the piss? Yeah, and there's various, again, with most great idioms, there's various levels to it. Like, because you'll say, like, if the bus driver tells you that he's not going all the way to yourself, and you're taking the piss, then that's an angry one. But it's like, but if you go say, I'm only taking the piss. But the thing is, if you get someone to the point where they have to explain that I had an English friend of mine, he got mad at me once because I actually said to him, I'm only joking. And he goes, never say that to me. I don't need the explanation. I assume you're fucking joking. And if I thought you weren't joking, I wouldn't hang out with you. But he goes, never say that. He actually got annoyed about it. Again, it's everything's in here. It's all crumbling and desiccated right behind your ribcage. And that's how they like it.
So I saw... One of the reasons I called you in to the show.
Summoned me.
Summoned you.
I got an owl actually at my door, which I thought was weird.
When I saw you do the open for Jenna Friedman a few sleepy Sundays ago, that was a sleepy fucking
That was a real sleepy Sunday.
Oh my God.
That was the tail end of summer. Everyone was exhausted.
Everyone was. I bled for both of you. That was a hard house, but
they were polite. It was a very polite.
They were polite.
Polite, attentive audience, and I really liked her show, and I look forward to her seeing it develop and everything. Yeah. I mean, she's Jennifer Friedman's great, by the way, and I'd recommend going to see her if you get the chance.
Yeah. Have you read the book? Have you read the book?
No.
I'm looking forward to that. But in the middle of your act, you suddenly called out, "How many of you have heard of ethical non-monogamy?" And there was just this kind of like, it felt like a deer in the headlights moment. I don't know if it was, but there was some clapping. There's some clapping, and of course I was like clapping. So I wanted to. So then you go on and you talk a bit about opening up your relationship. But the first thing I want to ask you is, do you get folks? Are you getting houses, or when you do that, where people are like, hell yes, I know what ethical non-monogamy is?
I had, and it's sort of like a newer joke. It's a thing I've been experiencing for a while, but almost going on for 2 years now. No, not a year and a half. Let's say a year and a half. But I didn't want to write a joke about it for the longest time because I wanted to wait, and I didn't want to be cheap about it or whatever. But so I've only started doing it recently. But I did a show in Michigan, and someone clapped really loud, and some of their friends came up and they were so excited that you talked about it, because there's a lot of people can make whatever sort of kind of the point of the joke is that people, can have a sense of humor about whatever they want to have a sense of humor about. But I think the fact that it was coming from someone who's in it and wasn't being eye-rolly about it, because I think there's a lot of eye-rolly kind of yeah, sure you are kind of jokes about it, which is understandable also. But I think anything that's sort of actually from the side of experiencing it rather than being on the outside judging it is sort of I'm not going to say new, I'm not going to say like a trailblazer or anything, but it's I think when people hear something that's not even pro but understanding of it, I think people kind of get excited,
For sure. I mean, because I think in some crowds I still see when I'm reading and what have you, people are still get confused that if both partners know, it's not cheating.
Right.
It's this hang up people have, like they can't get beyond this idea that if you're having sex with other people, it's not cheating if both people agree to it.
Or whatever level you're at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing too, where it's like people have a vision of it, and like you're saying, it's like, oh, it's just, you're all, that both partners are out having sex with lots of people, or both, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
there's always an assumption of a lot of people.
Yeah, or it's like, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head where some people view it as a code name for something, or you know what I mean, or like a workaround.
Yes, a workaround. It's a workaround.
And it's like as people who I've talked to who have experienced it, it is not a workaround.
It's not a fucking workaround.
It's work.
It is work.
You're not working around anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I get that, and I get the skepticism of it, and like and I think, and again, kind of the point of the whole joke is that, there is this tendency to be like, how dare you joke about my lifestyle? And it's like, well, I can understand how it looks from the outside, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not, and if I get defensive about it, that's probably going to reaffirm every assumption that you have, If I start going, no, you don't know, it's better just to talk to people about it, you know what I mean? It's like...
Right, because I find in my circle of friends, occasionally there's not as much eye-rolly stuff.
Right.
But in the beginning, there certainly was eye-roll.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly was eye-roll. Like, oh, pat on the head. You're doing this. That good on you.
Right. It's like that pottery class you took up. You know what I mean? You're going to get sick of it in 6 weeks, and you're going to be left with a bunch of shattered earthenware. Yeah, and again, it's sort of like if they are friends, you have to allow them that skepticism. Sure. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You do find that with whenever anyone like tries a new walk of life or tries something new, and some of their friends. Sometimes your friends are reacting that because they kind of know that you've made mistakes, so that you know what I mean. So like, if they are really your friends, you have to allow them. It's like, I know I do shit like this, but and I would say with all my friends, it's the reaction has been like really great, and really great in that sense of like, okay, let me know how it goes. Yeah, right. I wish the best for you. You know what I mean? Right. Really, that's what it's been. And you do get like a bit of skepticism. And the first thing you get, well, not always, but one thing you do get, and it's something that are you still doing?
I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and it's like,
but I'm solo. I'm not with a partner. So it's a different animal.
Yeah. So I was in a relationship when we started to explore it, and I do think it. I can imagine it would be a different animal, but do you get this when you tell people, oh, I could never?
Oh, yes. I could never, because I'd be so jealous.
Yeah.
That's the big one. There's never a second. It's always the jealousy. Like, oh, I would just be too jealous.
Yeah. And that's also funny, that notion is that, yeah, I know, because we're jealous too. Like the jealousy doesn't go. We don't take a pill like an anti-jealousy suppressant every morning that allows us to be
right.
It's just you. My general feeling about it, and again, the thing is about it too. It's not monolithic. You know what I mean? There's seems to be so many different ways of doing it, and like we can, and you sort of meet people, and that's the thing. Like you'll find friends of yours that you did not know were doing that.
Yeah.
And because they've learned, I don't want to have a whole fucking conversation with everyone. Right. I don't want people like concerned for me or whatever the hell happens. And again, if someone is concerned for you, I think that, I don't mean that as a criticism either. You know what I mean? If your friends are like, are you sure? That's normally coming from a nice place. That's normally coming from a place of like, they are concerned about you, whatever. But as long as you should. But
no, I think that's bullshit. No, I gotta jump in. I do. I think that like, are you sure? That feels like.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's like, are you sure? Like, it's.
Oh right.
I don't know. It to me it feels like. I don't need your judgment.
Yeah.
I don't need your parental judgment.
I need to be judged constantly. I don't know. I have no idea.
Like by
I'm doing.
you saying, "Are you sure?" Oh, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, you're right."
Yeah. No,
I'm not sure.
no, I get that. I see what you're saying, but I guess where I was going with it is that I think for some people, and not for everyone, but for some people, when they do this or move into this kind of world, it's really just because they want the people they love to be happy. You know what I mean? And even if it's, and again, your friends should I guess your friends should like realize that for you, where it's like, look, yes, I've done the research, I've done the reading, I'm sure, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the thing about it too, is it's like, it's, I think if you go into it selfishly, it's not gonna last very long, or it's not gonna work out. But you kind of have to. Anyway, I'm not preaching or anything, but that's just from my limited experience. That's my feeling on it.
Because it's sure not for everybody.
No.
I mean, it's a. In fact, I'm kind of amazed. It's in the water now. This is a zeitgeist we're in now, where everyone seems to be giving it a shot.
Right.
Even if it doesn't last, everyone's like open, like, is this the answer?
Right.
Is this like Shangri-La?
Yeah.
Right? This is, oh my God, I didn't realize this is a possibility.
Right. And it's not, by the way. I mean, there's no answer, right?
Yeah.
It's just an avenue that might make things easier for you, right? That's like, it might be an avenue that fits you a bit better, or it may not. And I think that's the thing too, like to your reaction too, when people are like, I could never, and then it's like, well, then don't.
Right. But sometimes I think the I can never is almost like, I really want to, but this is what I'm concerned about. Yeah,
and there is also this notion that people who do it have somehow a lower level of like, I don't want to say fealty, but like, you know what I mean, like a lower level of love for the people they're with, a lower level of attraction for the people with, and it's like, it's not that at all. It's like it's hard to explain. I mean, again, I can only speak for myself, but yeah, that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you could never, if that's how you feel about it, that's totally fine. But I find the evangelical urge on either side to be interesting.
Yeah.
To either like, everybody should do it. Everybody shouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think everybody should do marriage. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think everybody should necessarily live together, because some people, like, sometimes you see a cohabiting situation and you're like, that person has way more patience than a polyamorous person does.
Right. Yeah,
because they're sharing their relationship with all this with 9,000 back copies of Forbes or whatever.
We'll return to our conversation in a moment. Just a few simple sentences can change your intimate life. Want to know what they are? Download the free guide, Say It Better in Bed, 3 practical ways to improve intimate communication, to get easy tools to put into action immediately. Go to wildandsublime.com to get yours. So, speaking of your relationship, how did it, if you don't mind me asking, and you can let me know, how did it start?
It was sort of
and how long were you with your partner at the time?
About 9 years. About nine or so years. And then beyond that, I'll kind of talk in generalities, because it's not my story to tell.
Sure.
But it was just something that sort of was talked about, and it was sort of theoretical. And then it sort of became not theoretical, and it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm not going to... if I was I sort of had more of a level of comfort, because I kind of knew where it was coming from, and it comes from this thing where, like, I really want to be with my partner, and I really want her, I really want them to feel feel all the things that they want to feel, and like, if it's that sort of thing. Like, what am I losing by allowing them? Can we strike the word allowing? What am I losing by participating in them doing that. It's not about allowing or anything like that. Sorry, I didn't want to use that word at all.
Which is funny because that is a question in OkCupid of like, would you allow your partner to see someone else? And I wrote in, I'm like,
it's completely the wrong language. It's
right.
completely the wrong word. That's why, that's why I'm trying to I'm annoyed with myself that it slipped in there. But it's something that I would sort of like experience with them. You know what I mean? And and you know, we didn't both start like engaging with it at the same, you know what I mean? Like there was a period where I wasn't seeing anyone else. So it kind of, and then it just sort of like it evolves or whatever. But yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, would you say that, you know, I think the beginning phases can be difficult. I just don't know anyone who's like, yeah, okay, hey, you know, there's kind of that, oh, this is a whole different system.
It's like there are parts of it that are so much better, and they're not necessarily the parts that you think they're going to be. And I think for some people, and I've heard this from multiple people, it makes you actually closer with your partner, and it makes you sort of like it's sort of like going to the opticians and they slide the correct prescription in, where it kind of like you really what you appreciate about your relationship really comes into sharp view, especially once there's kind of more to it, and it makes you like. I mean, the one thing I think most people will agree upon, it makes you, if you're bad at scheduling, get into polyamory, because it will make you. We have so many calendars now.
Do you? Yeah. I know. It's all about the calendars.
It's all about the calendar. It's all about schedule. It's all about making plans and sticking to them, and then like, you know, if and being respectful if plans have to change and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. And it is kind of like it's really encourage you to communicate a lot and make sure that everybody's on the same page, and everybody, you know. Anyway, from my experience and the experience of my friend, but again, I'm not promulgating this. I'm not like proselytizing. I'm just telling you.
Right. You're just a witness from the road.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, what has changed for you? Do you think, from the beginning point, from the very early moments to now? Like how are you viewing it differently, or has it with your partner evolved into something that you kind of either didn't anticipate, either for better or for worse, or you're like, okay, I have a little bit more of a mature view of this now that I have experienced.
Yeah, totally. It's sort of, and I think, you know, for me, it goes in waves, and it's like, there are sort of, there's just sort of bits to it, and realize that you might need to step up in some areas, and and it's the thing is, I think the main thing that comes around, it's not going to be this even within even within the relationship, it's not going to be the same for each person.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like. It's going to be whatever their situation is, whatever your situation is, and then I will say that the one thing that I'm sure this statement is going to come back and bite me in the ass, but one thing I think as you get older is that like how exhausting lying is, and it's just I don't know if it's an getting older thing, but it is. Lying isn't so much a crime of deceit; it's a crime of theft. And what lying does, it robs you of time, because if you had just known the information you needed to know, you could have developed a response to it earlier. But you're kind of and I'm not saying I'm not actually talking about my relationship in this
right.
point. I'm actually talking about sort of comparing how like sort of freeing this is just to be like honest and open about things, compared to other situations in my life where like you felt like you couldn't be honest, and you are just kind of like any amount of time you allow someone to go under a false assumption, you are sort of like robbing them of the time that they get to like live in a world where they have all the facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this, because so much of this is just like, I'm going to be here on this day and this is how I'm feeling and this is...
Right.
Because like facts are very important to this. And again, you're talking to someone who's a complete newbie on this. So like I'm not...
But you're throwing down some wisdom.
I'm not professing to any knowledge on this. I'm just going off like, this is like... like I'm a newbie in the army, like, oh, the backpacks are heavy, like that's my biggest complaint or whatever. But yeah, I do think that like with something like this, like just honesty becomes like, it just becomes standard operating procedure. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's because I mean, if we can't be honest, because you're being honest about a pretty big thing. So like,
absolutely,
if you can be honest about that, you can kind of be honest about anything else.
I mean, it's interesting because I consider myself solo polyamorous, and so I remember one day a lot of people say this, well, what's the difference between that and just dating around?
Right.
And I said, well, the difference is I can walk into a room with 2 or 3 partners, and no one's hair is gonna be set on fire.
Yeah.
And that's a type of honesty,
right?
And that's really nice.
That is the big thing, and that's, I don't know about you, but like that's a big thing where like when you start telling your friends, it's like, because that became a question, have you told people or you're not telling people? And it's like, when I first started telling people, my rationale for telling people is I didn't want anyone to see something that they thought they had to keep from me. I didn't want to put anyone to be, it was just like the, just doing the geometry of friendships, of like who's likely to run across situation that they think they need to like warn me about, which again, it does also sort of like, make me appreciate my friends, whether, they're like, they'd be worried or whatever, but it is a sort of thing where like, this is the deal and it's fine. And it's, that is the part of it too,
right.
Where it's just like everyone is on the same page. And I always, the amount of times I hear myself use that phrase, on the same page, it's like, because it's important, I think.
Yeah. So with all of this under our belt, I thought you could help me with my OkCupid dating feed.
Can't wait. As we've already established, I am an expert.
Yeah, you are expert polyamorous.
All types of relationships.
So I have sent, we're both on our phones right now.
Yeah.
I have sent Adam a collection of dudes.
Right.
Let's start.
They are dudes.
They're dudes.
They are doodly dudes.
You're right, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this person is straight, non-monogamous man, partnered. Claims he is fit. I don't know. All right, so pretty basic portrait. My self-summary. Poly, partnered times 2.
Right.
What does that mean? 2 partners?
Yes, I think that's that's what it means. And I think this is part of the thing that people get so worried about, about getting into it, because we didn't do any like reading. We went in pretty fucking blind.
Oh my God, really? You just jumped in?
We jumped in. I know. We didn't do any fucking research. It was kind of silly. My partner did like retroactively, which was very helpful. But I think people get really worried about like argot and jargon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when someone throws out poly partner times 2, it's like it sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons designation. Like I roll for partners. And then he goes on. So you go ahead.
Okay, poly partner times 2. My nesting partner and I are exploring boundaries and new relationship structures while I'm discovering love is boundless, but time is very precious. All right, let's break this down. My nesting partner and I are exploring boundaries.
Yeah.
And new relationship structures.
It'd be so funny if he was like, we're exploring boundaries, and he gave her full name, an age and address. Because this threw me, because I don't know the terminology, and this is how much of a neophyte I am. Because later on, I don't want to, spoiler alert, but later on he mentions his anchor partner.
Yeah.
So do you know what's the difference between a nesting partner and an anchor partner? I don't
Well,
know.
okay, so nesting means you actually live with that person.
Oh, okay.
Anchor, now, again, I don't profess to be writing a book on polyamory, but although I am writing a memoir, which is, so anchor simply means like what you would consider, now, I might get communications about this, but I presume nesting means you live with that person. Anchor is, I consider this person a primary partner.
Okay.
So we're dealing with a hierarchical structure here.
Okay.
But I'm sensing transition. I'm discovering love is boundless, but time is very precious. That gets to your calendar.
Yeah, true.
You're tracking on that one.
Can't argue with that. See?
Travel is, I'll travel a lot for work, usually traveling with my anchor partner. Always up for some playtime.
See, I would like to think that traveling a lot with my anchor partner, I like to think that means he travels exclusively by boat. And the anchor partner is actually like an old sea salt that he
plunk.
He made, yeah. His second mate, if you will.
Second mate.
Or his first mate.
There we go.
I guess first mate. Yeah.
First mate. Always up for some playtime with a new friend, with or without a partner.
Right.
Okay. So some playtime with a new friend, he's looking for casual. He's looking for casual. Right, and sometimes so.
How do you feel about the term playtime for sexual intercourse?
Well, that's something. As someone who is came into the sex positive world late, I would just say that's a sex party, and then people would be like, "No, it's a play party."
Oh, okay,
it's a play party, and I'm like, okay, it's a play party. Playtime. Well, what do you think of playtime? You asked the question.
You know what? It struck. You know what? It struck me as odd in the moment, but then I realized it's probably like a term that people use. So I don't want to. I don't want to yuck on anyone else's yum. If that's the terminology
would you go?
See, I'm trying not to eye roll anymore. See, you know what I mean?
Is this a UK thing coming? Playtime.
Playtime, because that's what we call recess. You see.
Well, yeah.
So that's why
Okay.
If he said and looking for some recess there, you'd be like, okay.
So OkCupid always has these set things. I could probably beat you at, and he put my sport. Ask me later what that is.
He's a professional prevaricator. My sport is dodging the question. I'm really good.
Do you think my sport is sex? That's what I was thinking. That's too much.
I mean, if that's what he means, that's worse than playtime.
Le sport.
Game time. Yeah. Oh boy.
See, I would say no to this guy. Simply because
of my sport.
My sport.
Yeah.
We have a 66% match rate, so that's low. That's low.
But here's the thing about that. What's so funny is my sport. You're like, best case scenario. That's that's a lame terminology for sex. He could hunt humans with a rifle.
The most dangerous game.
Yeah, I mean, he travels a lot in countries where this is.
He's CIA.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
it with my partner.
Yeah, I destabilize regimes. Was that not clear from my sport?
My sport, what I see through the sniper's crosshairs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, we just did a number on this guy. I'm scared. I'm scared. All right, I'm gonna take a pass on this guy.
Okay.
Let's try the next one. So we see this guy who's fairly attractive, right?
Yeah.
And
I think this guy looks hilarious.
Just the basic profile.
Yeah, his whole vibe. He's like someone I would love to spend 70 minutes with in a hotel barroom and then never see again. You know what I mean?
Laughing or fucking with him, taking the piss.
No, I don't think you could get a word in edgeways. I think it would
100%, 100%. And I'm not sure what it is about his face.
Got a good smile, I think.
He has a good smile. A good profile picture.
So I haven't been on the apps in a long, long time. When it says I'm pro-choice in his thing, it's in bright pink letters, all caps, bolded.
Yeah.
Is that...
This was a thing. So every so often, OkCupid will roll out initiatives. But during pro-choice, the whole Roe v. Wade debacle, you could put a badge on your profile. So he's open to either monogamy or non-monogamy, which is critical.
Yeah.
When we get to the next, most people know me would say I'm fun, optimistic, happy by nature! Exclamation point. I'm financially and emotionally secure, ready to start the next chapter! Exclamation point. Kids are grown and moved out. I love to travel and be social. You may find me in places like Tuscany, Aspen, London, or the Bahamas on vacation. Love to dress up for Halloween, travel, and have new experiences! Exclamation point. I tend to like people who are authentic, grounded, and spontaneous! Exclamation point. I don't think he'd go over well in London, do you?
I love the phrase, you might find me in places like Tuscany, because we don't know what he's basing the criteria on. You know, I've always found New Brunswick to be very Tuscanesque. Places like Aspen, like Buffalo, also freezing. No skiing, but I mean, you know, he didn't say he went to those places.
He actually went there.
He said he was in places like them.
Like Tuscany, bargain basement Tuscany.
I'm pretty sure there's a London, Iowa. You know what I mean?
That's absolutely true. Current goal, making the world a better place. So then, but let's go back to the other question.
Yeah.
Would you, so in his questions, because in OkCupid you can ask 1,000 questions.
Right.
Would you consider having an open relationship, i.e., one where you can see other people? No. And here was a guy who was saying, "Oh, monogamous, non-monogamous." What's up with that, Adam? Tell me. You tell me.
I do. I mean, here's the thing. I do think that it's funnier that you're focusing on that as opposed to his current goal, making the world a better place.
Okay, good. You're keeping me honest. You're like, hey, come on. Like,
you're only allowed to say that answer in a Miss America pageant, and you're not allowed to say it on a dating app.
I am going to remember that. That will help just winnow the field considerably. You're refocusing me. I really appreciate this because I'll look at this question because I'm like, this is the critical question. You're like, no, Karen.
I'm making the world a better place in places like Tuscany. Places like the world I'm making better, but not this actual world that we're in. But yeah, that is. Here's what I think's going on there with the disconnect between his answers. He's saying it goes because how is it phrased? A relationship where he can see other people.
Yes.
So he's saying no because he thinks that's what people want to hear.
Oh.
He's trying to
make the world a better place.
He's trying to make the world a better place. He's just going off a gut reaction of what he thinks probably women want to hear. So he's going no, but he's also like going, I'm open and I'm, you know, and I'm blah, 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 and
I'm all about, you know.
All about a good time. But that's what I think is happening, and because it's a lot of questions on OkCupid.
Oh, there's so.
I remember it being like an insane amount.
It's insane. It's totally insane. Wow, you've just given me great insight. I knew this was going to be helpful going through this. Okay, final one. Let's just take a look at this one. This guy's monogamous because I do classify myself as monogamous or non-monogamous. I've just recently changed because I just want to look at more people. The pool gets very tiny on OkCupid when
you say non-monogamous.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
Wow.
So here is a man monogamous, and his second picture. So basically, he's in bed looking up. I just have a personal aversion to men taking pictures of themselves on a pillow. It's just as their first profile picture. It's just like, oh, you don't do that.
That's. All I want to talk about is this. That's fascinating.
Really?
Yeah. I love to think of you scrolling through Facebook and this guy who's just like successfully survived an operation and he's like, good news, they got it all out. And you're like, ugh, gross. Hey, get up out of bed. Go take that photo outside like a non-creep.
Nobody is in a fucking hospital bed when they take this one. I should show you the profile guy of the first profile picture of a guy in the dentist chair. Seriously, wearing the glasses and the bib.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I think he thought it was funny, and
Right.
perhaps it was. All right, so this guy looking at me from not a hospital bed,
Also,
a regular pillow.
A regular pillow, but here's not my problem with it. He's waving in the photo. There's no one else, and he's waving at a selfie, which is the oldest thing you can do. That is like you feel like the phone is alone. you want the phone to recognize you. That's not how facial recognition works.
Hi, phone.
Papa. It's me, remember? From buying you? You don't have to stop waving at the phone. Stop giving the phone a nickname. Stop calling it big fella. Yeah.
So fortunately, this person is at 65% match rate, so that's low. But let's get to the second picture, which is him, sadly, at a graveyard. And I didn't know when I first looked at this. I thought he was in like ancestral graveyard. I didn't know, and then I went close and I saw it is a grave of a dog. What do you make of this, Adam?
So, okay, here's the thing. This is really hard because, we lost our dog this year.
It's fucking sad.
It's the word. I'm not going to make fun of someone for losing a dog. I'm not going to make fun of someone for taking the photo. Not at all. Posting the photo on OkCupid is a choice, and I think it's a lot. I think a lot of people will look at that and feel very warmly towards this person. But it's also like, isn't there like a lot of there's a lot of things that could be going on there when you post a picture of yourself next to your dog's grave.
Thank you.
That I'm not saying that any of these things are going on, but I think this person needs to be aware that there are people out there who will read this as less.
Who will bring it on a podcast and talk about it.
There's some fucking lunatics out there who will use your suffering as grist for their comedy mill.
Well, okay, let's look at it the positive. This is a guy that has a dog, and the dog died, and the dog has a headstone in a graveyard. And I think that's understandable.
Yes.
And cool.
Yes.
Cool. So this guy likes dogs.
Yes.
Then, as you said, very, very clearly, he had made a choice to put this on OkCupid.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, I mean, you know what? I hope this works for him. I hope I hope that there's a litany of, if he's looking for women, I hope there's a litany. I hope there's a whole graveyard section, like pet cemetery section of OkCupid where people are like, finally, someone gets me.
Right.
Although I don't think you like your dog that much because I gave old Whiskers a mausoleum, a pausoleum, I call it. And
but I would say, like, it's what's interesting about this, if he was like more of a goth guy, then I'd be like, yeah, yeah, okay.
That's your problem. That would be hilarious,
wouldn't it? If you're like, oh yeah,
and
man,
he had one of those rickety Victorian umbrellas. And it's been a fucking black top hat.
Oh, yeah. Then it would be like,
yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Swipe right. So I'm sorry, Mr.
I like to where you ended up with that is that you're not actually even criticizing your choice. You're criticizing he didn't go far enough with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which isn't that the point of all art? We want to go just,
yes.
You don't want to hold back.
Yes.
You just want to go through.
Yeah. But I'm sure he's a lovely person. I'm sure he was a lovely dog.
So Adam, what's up next for you?
Well, depending on when this goes out, I'm going to. I'm taking part. I'm a part of the Wait Stand-Up tour, which is a stand-up tour where the stand-up comedians who appear on Wait, we get together and we do like these little theater tours. We do like two. So this one coming up October 7th. We're going to be in Cincinnati, and October 8th, we're going to be in Indianapolis. Okay. And then in November, I think it's November the 2nd, we're going to be part of the 312 Comedy Fest, and we'll be at the Riviera Theater. Yeah, exciting times.
Yeah. Adam, this has been a lot of fun.
This has been great. Thank you so much. Don't listen to anything I said. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Fucking stop it. Wild and Sublime is supported in part by our Sublime supporter, Full Color Life Therapy. Therapy for all of you at fullcolorlifetherapy.com. Thank you for listening. Know someone who'd like this episode? Send it to them. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Wild and Sublime, and sign up for newsletters at wildandsublime.com. Got feedback or an inquiry? Contact us at info@wildandsublime.com. And we'd love a review or rating on your podcast player. I'd like to thank our design guru, Jean-François Gervais. Music by David Ben-Porat. This episode was produced and edited by Christine Ferreira at the Lincoln Lodge Podcast Studio as part of the Lincoln Lodge Podcast Network.